All right, welcome back to Generational Gains. I'm here with my oldest son, Carson Herlean, and we had a little time off with the holidays and travels, and everyone's been kind of out and about. And but I'd also say business has probably been really busy in the same time. I feel like that's partly we took a little break because I'd like to say it's because of holidays, but I also feel like end of the year stuff, business and banks and tax stuff has been kind of busy. So. Today we've got some, new, just some fun topics, but also some stories to share that hopefully will, maybe applicable to you or make you think about your business and or what you're doing in your life, and this can be helpful to you as well. So, anyways, it's been a couple months. Let's go over kind of what's going on with you, and you might want to start like. Well, I'll let you start where you want because I have some. I feel like I know some of the things that's going on in your life, but I'm curious what
what are you thinking specifically?
Well, I last year, you've been helping people with this infinite banking concept.
Yeah.
And I think you were ranked in the top 20 agents for business that you wrote for a big insurance company, meaning you helped probably a lot of people. With the infinite banking concept. So it's I'm kind of doing a humble brag for you here right now.
Let's go there.
But you had a competition, I think, the agency does to tell me about this insurance thing that I don't think you were totally planning on. So go ahead.
Yeah, I wasn't planning to share it either, which is fun. But we, for infinite banking, we help different people set up life insurance policies designed for banking and different needs. But that's what I've been doing a lot of in the past years, teaching that strategy. And we work with a few different insurance companies, and one of them specifically, they provide like a trip for all the top agents in the company. And I was able to be selected to go based off of the amount of people I helped to do this with last year. And so in about a month, we're going to New Zealand. There's like 10 or 15 people who are getting to go. And we're going to New Zealand for 10 days, I think, fully paid for. So that's been a new thing that I just found out I was able to do. Super stoked for. Really cool. And we're doing that in about a month. So planning for that, prepping for that. But then also I found out that's a yearly thing. They do something every year. And so now I'm like ready to go. Like 2024, I want to help more people do this and really build out that business. So yes, I can help people, but it'd be cool to go on another trip too. So.
Well, and people ask me a lot, whenever people ask me what you're doing, I'm like, well, he does real estate and he also is doing, helps people with their whole life and policies with infinite banking. And some people think they know what infinite banking is. We've done a whole podcast on infinite banking. But for those who didn't listen to that, or as a reminder, I think there's a huge disconnect for majority of Americans or savvy investors who think they understand life insurance and this infinite banking thing. And so I've told people what you do, and they're like, oh yeah, I do that with my agent or with my policy. And it's just not that. It's like either an IUL or it's got this big death benefit. And this is not an insurance whole kind of podcast, but kind of just a reminder on that, because people ask me all the time, what are you up to? I think what's unique about yours is without going through too much is you help a lot of people set up these whole life banking policies where the death benefit's as low as possible to get as much cash value and growth as possible, which in turn creates very little commission to agents. And some of the agents that don't understand it will do a high death benefit to get a high commission. And so there is a huge difference in those. And so anyways, I know you do it. I know you help, I don't know how many people every month.
I think last year I talked to over 1,000 people about it.
And you probably helped a couple hundred?
Like 300-400 people do it.
300-400 people. So definitely I would say you're becoming an expert in the space, and you're doing it yourself. So I think it's interesting because people are always asking me, oh, is Carson doing real estate? And I'm like, well, he's doing real estate and he's also doing, this banking policies. And I think the thing that I love that, people have come up to me because I'm in the self-directed IRA space, and they're like, hey, I want to do, I love seeing what you're doing with your son. I want to set up a retirement account for him and I want to put money in it. And I was like, that's cool. Like if they make money and you want to help them do all that. But that wasn't my model with you. I am still a firm believer a bit of like, you got to do it on your own. Like what good would it be if I set up an IRA account for you on, and made you kind of set it up and put money in it when you're doing that on your own. You're doing your own banking policy, you're doing your own real estate, you got your own Roth IRA, and you're doing stuff with it. And so anyways, people ask me, and so I think it's a good start as well.
Well, it's cool because like being a part of this space, I've been able to learn so many different strategies of how to use and move your money around. Like self-directing your retirement accounts is huge. Getting those tax-free benefits. I've watched a lot of people learn about velocity banking and do velocity banking, which has been cool to learn. And that can be used for debts, but also real estate investing, using lines of credit to buy more properties. And then I've seen people with infinite banking strategy do all kinds of stuff. So being a part of this space and learning from all these different people and then doing it all myself, it's been awesome. So I love talking about all these different strategies with people. And I know you do a lot of this stuff, I do. And so all these strategies, though, they change throughout time. And they change when rates change in the market. They change when how people invest changes. So, I mean, that's a big topic we wanted to talk about today is change and adaptability in the markets and in the world. And, one thing I am doing this for, I love talking with my dad about business, but I also want to teach my story and show what I'm doing. Most people who do what we do, most influencers, they're experts. They've been in the fields for a long period of time and they're teaching these things, and like you are with self-directed retirement accounts. But for me, it's like, I'm not the expert in everything yet. I've only had a couple of years of experience, but I want to share my story along the way so people can watch me learn, fail, have good experiences, make money, lose money, so they can watch me and be motivated to do it themselves too. And I want to help this community of younger people learn all these different things they can and should be doing now to build themselves wealth in the long term. And so, that's just something I wanted to talk about today, was change. And I'm going to change a lot over the next few years doing this and learning these different strategies, but I want people to come on with the ride and watch and experience it with us and do things themselves.
So that leads me to this, I guess. So I don't know if you can recall or think about, and I'll try to do the same maybe, but it's been, it's last year, something that you had planned a year ago that changed and you had to adapt or get creative or innovate something that to help you accomplish a goal because something changed. I mean, I feel like in all of our businesses and in our lives, we'll have a goal. Like right now in 24, we have this goal and it's based upon whatever it might be in your business or personal life. But then something happens. You get sued. You get, you split up with your partner.
A deal goes bad.
So, that being said in this last year, so tell me, is there something that comes to mind where you started maybe this year in 2023 that you had in mind and you had to adapt or change in this last year?
Yeah. Well, I actually have a couple answers now that I think about it. First is in the real estate space. Knowing how to underwrite a deal. I feel like the first 5-10 deals I did not underwrite it correctly. And I'm getting to the end point now where some of those deals are selling, they're gone, I'm getting rid of them, but I didn't make as much money as I thought. Some of the rehabs were harder than I thought. What I thought the home was worth after I rehabbed them was not true anymore. So I learned throughout the year how I should be underwriting real estate deals, because you just can't be going at it with no experience. You have to a little bit and figure it out, but now I've had that experience where I understand I need to be more conservative with what I'm looking at with real estate deals and my underwriting. I need to be, I need to spend more time underwriting, basically. Underwriting the neighborhoods you're buying in, the market, where it's at, what the population levels are. I need to be knowing more about these real estate deals before I go and buy them. And that's something I've been focusing on now is after 2023, I bought some deals that weren't as good as I thought they'd be. And now this year, I want to be more specific and get better deals. So if that means I buy a few less this year, that's fine. I'll probably make more money because I'm buying better deals. So that's something I learned last year. And I think another thing I'd like to mention real quick too is just personal finances. This year in 2023, I feel like my goals were, or what I was making and where my goals was good, and it was really great for my age. But by the end of the year, I'm I could be doing more than that? Why am I setting lower goals? I should be setting higher goals because I can reach them. And if I can't, well, I set a really high goal, I got half, well, that's great. What I got was great too. So I want to be focusing on setting higher goals and better goals for myself too this year.
So I don't know if you want to share, what's your income goal for 2024?
That's big.
So you don't know yet?
Well, I do. I don't know if I want to share that. But last year, I was, at the beginning of the year, I think I made like 5 to 10 grand in the first 2 months, each month. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, by the end of 2023, starting 2024, basically right now, I want to be making 30 grand a month. That was my goal a year ago. And I can say I'm at the point where I'm basically doing that. But now this upcoming year, I want to do more. And so I won't get specific, but yeah, I'm happy with where I'm at.
Fair enough. You said a lot.
Yeah, I know.
And no, that was good. It just it made me reflect a bit. And I feel like people that are listening, especially if you're new or you have maybe a son or daughter in the space, I feel like almost everyone's real estate journey begins with what Carson just said. Yeah. Meaning, I bought these deals. They didn't go quite as planned. I'm breaking even on some. I need to do a little better due diligence.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's part of everyone's journey, and everyone's journey. I mean, so when you go through, I want to be in real estate. I feel like what you said, until you experience what you just experienced, I don't think you become a real estate investor.
Yeah. Because
I would say most deals in the beginning, if not all deals, don't perform the way you thought they're going to perform. Yeah. And even this day, I know this because I've been through what you're talking about, and I think most people have as well. I've never seen a perform exactly how it said it's going to be. Never. And maybe I just don't know the right people. But I think if you go in eyes wide open, that's part of your learning experience. And I think something that you also shared, I think is great feedback, is taking a step back. You might make more money by doing less deals, but doing more due diligence. Yeah. One of our mutual friends, Todd, I was talking to him this morning on storage facilities. I asked him, how's the first of the year going? He said, it's actually a little bit tighter. I'm seeing a lot of storage facilities. Not quite right. The number, there's not enough either units or enough revenue or enough population in these little cities. And he's like, so I'm just passing. I find myself passing a lot in the last 30 to 45 days on deals. Huh. And what I like about that is he knows his box. Yeah. He knows his box and he's trying to limit his liability. So I think a great takeaway that you just shared that almost everyone goes through is being adaptable, being okay to change maybe some of your expectations. Like, hey, I want to buy 5 homes a month, and you only end up buying 1 or 2, but you've adapted or changed your buy box. Yeah. So, I just wanted to lean on that a little bit because I think it's a good share for most people getting into real estate. Mm-hmm. That being said, I want to share an example. I don't know. It doesn't really answer the question I asked you, which is fine. You can ask me a different question, but an example of what I've done when I tried to adapt in a situation or real estate deal like what you just talked about. Let me share. This week, I went to Austin and I spoke at an event and met some people, and they were talking about syndications and joint ventures and partnering with people and how people are like, hey, if you put up $100,000 or the equity, I'll split the deal with you 50-50. Mm-hmm. And on this pro forma, as I just talked about, the pro forma says if I split the deal, let's say you brought me the deal and I put up the money and we split it 50-50. And you say on the pro forma, 50-50 means, Dad, you're going to make a 30% IRR. Mm-hmm. Looks awesome. Takes longer, costs more, market changes, interest rate changes. All of a sudden, we sell the deal and I get 50-50, but we happen to make a lot less money. And so my 50% doesn't yield me a 30% IRR, it yields me a 6 to 8%. Disappointing, to be honest. Obviously, that's still better than the stock market, so I'm still a proponent of it. But disappointing. Yeah. So I learned 15 years ago that I was often disappointed with the returns I was making on equity. So what I started to do is renegotiate the terms. For example, and this is maybe some advice for those of you that are out there kind of talking and looking at deals and trying to be maybe innovative or adaptive.
Yeah.
Now this goes both directions for Carson, but also in this example, maybe for your equity partner. So let's say in that example, Carson says, put up this equity and we split it 50-50. He's going to find the deal, do all the work for the deal and sell it. Seems like a good deal. I say, you know what? How about this? Instead of you giving me 50%, which is going to be about a 30% rate of return is what you told me, IRR. How about I take 30 or 35%? You take 65. But I want a floor of no less than 18% of my money. So therefore, if it all doesn't go that well, I still get 18%, meaning you might have to dip into your 65% to get me to my 18. But the reason why I started doing some deals like that is because I was getting frustrated with some of the deals where maybe decisions that Carson might make, maybe mistakes that he could potentially make, or some of your vendors might make. Your vendor might say it's 10 grand and they come in and are like, no, it's actually 20 grand. All of a sudden it crushes our profits.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to get stuck in the minutia and the details of how you were managing a deal. And by having a floor or a minimum rate of return, I didn't have to care as much about your decision making.
Yeah.
So anyways, it's just an idea. It doesn't necessarily mean that every deal should work that way, but this example that I just gave came up 2 times in this last event. People were asking me about how they should structure a deal. And it was just an idea. And it's kind of a win-win potentially, because if you crush it, I just gave you 65% rather than 50-50.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah. It makes me think too, I've been thinking about this all week. Like, you're talking about setting a floor, maybe making a little bit less money, but it's the peace of mind. And that has value to you. So what do you value? And I've been thinking about this with people doing banking policies and investing in real estate. It's like, okay, well, you want to do this policy and you're worried about X, Y, and Z with the costs, with the interest rates, with the product. In the real estate, you're worried about the deal, the numbers, the return. Why? Like, it all comes down to what your why is and what you're trying to accomplish, what the philosophy of what you value. And if you value time, freedom, less of a return, then that's more important than getting the highest return. So you also want to structure your investments and structure your businesses around what you value. And that's going to change over time too, with this idea of adaptability. Over the past past year, interest rates have changed. And so how we look at real estate deals has changed. And maybe what I value now is more security. I want a $30,000 floor with my profit on a deal now, instead of last year I was more like 20, because now I know rates are a little bit higher, my payments are going to be higher, things are more expensive, so I need to have a bigger floor. So things like that are going to change as well over time. And with you're talking about your buy box, buying in real estate, that's going to adapt.
Yeah, no, that's good. I feel like deals, I feel like partnerships, like you're always having to adapt and make changes and be creative. I feel like also, I mean, social media is a good example of that. My team gives me a hard time about that, where it's been really hard, to be honest, about doing, this is probably the easiest part for me doing any kind of podcast webinars, because I get fulfilled by hearing your answers, because you always blow me away. And, but the adaptability and being innovative of, going, my team using Twitter or Instagram and Facebook and look, talk about adaptability. I used to just post things on Facebook, and you and the other kids would make fun of me and say, Facebook's just for old people. Yeah. And so you got to be on Instagram, and which is true, by the way. And I'm not old, but I'm older than you. Yeah. And there's just so many means for you to share your message and educate yourself. And so, I'll share one other thing that you mentioned earlier on, right in the beginning. You said something about influencers. Yeah. And I'd say just, they seem and they come off as they're experts. What I've known and seems to be is majority, not all of influencers are not experts. They're experts in marketing. They're actually really good at marketing. So they can make real estate look like they are geniuses when really maybe they're doing less deals than you. But they're just better marketers potentially than you.
Makes sense.
And it gets frustrating, frankly. I've seen that many times where I see some real estate people that I know have not done as much as me, but they look like they've done 100 times more than me. They're just much better about telling their story and about getting it out there. And so I think that's part of the thing of doing this and having social media and doing podcasts is you start hearing, and getting to know us and or others, whoever you're listening to, and over some time, you can either like or you follow and you resonate with their message or you don't. And some people won't resonate with this message or someone else's message, and they find who they like, and that becomes their community. And so be careful with influencers, but there's also some phenomenal influencers on different messages too, not just real estate or finance. It's on love and on friendships and on God. I mean, there's some, you can find anything you're looking for. So anyway, sorry, a little tangent, but I was just thinking about adaptability in social media because that's been a big one for me because it's also sometimes awkward to be putting stuff out there. But I will say when we're out and about, it's kind of cool when people be like, hey, I saw, awesome that you and your son or your family's at this football game, or like it's kind of cool to stay connected. We all know that. That's why we look at social media, I hope, staying connected with people that we might like or appreciate. So yeah.
And I want to finish my other thought too. I mentioned like it's about what you value. And I was talking about real estate, policies, all kinds of stuff. People get worried about all the numbers of the products, but it really is about what you value. What you value is way more important than the products, way more important than the deals. It's what you value, what you're trying to accomplish, and who you want to be. And that means way more than those things. And so people get caught up in the numbers of things and they overanalyze things. But if it feels good for you and what you want to do with your lifestyle and the way you do your life, then great. That's what you should be looking for.
Well, it took me like 10 years to say what he just said, just to be super. We did not discuss this beforehand, and I couldn't agree more. I've actually preached and talked about this subject for probably about 5 years now. So again, it took me a little longer.
With the IRAs, people talk about fees. They don't want the fees on it, but it's like, well, do you value control over your money? Yes. Well, then if you pay $100 for a fee, who cares? It's about the control.
You really need to be doing what makes you sleep good at night. And look, when I was in my 20s, it was all about the numbers. And it was less about the risk. It was like, okay, I've got to build, I got to hustle, I got to like make these big returns. And now, then I've been banged up and lost money and been through lawsuits and difficult things. It's like I want less risk. I want to sleep better at night, and so I'd rather someone else take on the energy, work, or risk, and me take lesser return and invest in a specific industry or space that I'm comfortable with. And so I think you definitely nailed it. And I think the more that you, me, and anyone we know can share and find out the real why that makes them tick or makes them comfortable, then you can start helping people. Because I think too often we are out here, I say we, I'll say me, I will share something as though it's something that I think they need, that someone needs. Oh, you need this. You need a self-directed IRA. Well, you might not need a self-directed IRA. It might make you uncomfortable having the power of investing your money in something. And so it's better to find out what's important to them. Now, if I hear like, hey, my friend Alex is like, oh, I'm just sick of the stock market and I'm this, and this. Well, then that could be a good message for Alex. But if Alex is like, man, he doesn't ever talk about his investing. In fact, he's probably very happy with his advisor in the stock market. I don't need to push on him to do something. So I think that's a really valuable tool.
Well, we're talking about adaptability today. Marketing's changed. It was a push. Marketing was about pushing. Marketing is now about pulling. It's about bringing people in and they choose whether they want what you were going to give or they don't. And that's okay. But because of social media, we can obviously mass produce it and get it to everyone. But that's changing right now, is we're coming into a pull market.
Yeah, I mean, all together and we're talking about innovative and changes, I feel like it's a weekly thing. I feel like depending on the month, I'll get a different message like, hey, you need to share, this is what people are resonating with. And so you have to be innovative, you have to be creative, and you have to be seeing what your community wants as well. I mean, there's some really good influencers that know what their followers and people want, and that's what they get them. And so you have to be changing. And if I was doing the same thing I was 10 years ago, we would not be building the way we are today. Mm-hmm. And it's the self-directed IRA space. There's a message, and it's not about fees. It's typically about, like, a great example was cryptocurrency. Yeah. I mean, there was a point where I was like, we're not holding cryptocurrency. Don't want to do it at Horizon Trust Company. Yeah. Mostly because of fear. I didn't understand it. And I had to adapt. Our company had to understand what the product was, how to hold it, how to process it. It was a learning curve. Yeah. But that's a good example. But another great example would be precious metals today. I mean, our audience is saying, I want to buy precious metals. Yeah. This isn't like me out there. So what do we have to do? We've got to put the checks and balances and processes in place for people to buy precious metals with their IRA. And so you have to be able to adapt. If not, I was losing business and clients to my competitors. Yeah, that's huge. It's kind of on topic, kind of off. I hope I get this right too. But if you've seen like a diagram of 3 circles in the middle, it's like why, what, how, or why, how, what, I think. And talking about what you're talking about, you could talk to people, market to people saying, hey, like, we offer this amount of fees to allow you to invest in what you want, and our company is this, and we value this. But in the reverse, we should be coming at people with the why. We value control over our money. Are you sick of the stock market returns and lack of control you have? Okay, well, because of that, you could have control over your funds, and we have a place that can do it for you. But now they want to come to you because you talked about the why. You didn't talk about, hey, we have a product, here's how it looks, here's the blah, blah, blah. It's the why, and that's what they're attracted to. Mm-hmm. Well, that's good. That's good. See, I still learn from this guy. Well, good. Well, hopefully this has been a little bit helpful, just talking about some innovative and just being adaptable, understanding mistakes and learning from them. I love your first examples of, your expectations in real estate. And I feel like that's a common one. Hopefully you guys heard that most people, beginners, especially in real estate, even veterans, it's okay if we slow down and make better decisions and not do every deal. And so yeah. Well, something I want to end to with this is, when I'm doing a real estate deal, and let's say I need to raise money for it, someone's going to lend their money to me to invest in the deal, and when the deal is done, I will give them their principal plus returns back. All right, that's the model. I took that lightly last year. I think it weighs more heavy on me now. When I'm underwriting a deal, I'm picking a deal knowing that Mike's money is with me, and that's what he depends on for his future. I can't screw up the deal. So I'm underwriting and picking deals for that person as if it was my money. If it was my 50 grand I put in the deal, how would I treat the money or treat the deal? It weighs more heavy on me, the deals I'm picking, because the people I'm working with are more valuable to me. That's good. That's real good. And that's what you should be always thinking about. So, good job. All right. Well, let's wrap up today, like we always do, with a sweet sour service. Do you want me to go first? Or do you want to go first? Go for it. All right. So my sweet was yesterday. We had a nice family dinner. We were all together, and I got to talk to Miley, your sister, and my daughter, on her mission, and she could not be happier in life. And such a blessing to know that your kids are happy and thriving and doing well. So yesterday, full circle, I got to talk to Miley for a while, and then also had the family over. So that was definitely my sweet. My sour was summer's got a little bit of cold, so I don't love that. And that's it. That's all I have for a sour. And then service. I feel like I don't have any original service things that I do to give and help. It's the day-to-day service that I feel like I provide with helping taking kids to school and whatnot. So I actually kind of enjoy it. So I don't have a great service, so I'll work on that for next time.
Okay. Usually you have better services than me, so I'm finally going to have something over you on this one. My suite today is more about gratitude. I'm grateful for the people and opportunities around me. Like, I get to learn so much every day. And some days are crazy, some days are chill, but I get to always learn and progress, and not many people get the opportunities I get. So I'm super grateful. It's awesome. My sour is last year, a year and a half ago, I got surgery on my knee. And ever since then, it's been like iffy. I hear random buckles in it once in a while or whatever. But Thursday I played a basketball game, and the next day I woke up and it was all swollen. And I'm like, what the heck? That's so annoying. And I couldn't really walk for a couple days over the weekend. It hurt. It was fine, but it hurt. And that's been super dumb. Just frustrating that I can't be fully myself. But I'll be fine. And service is, Anna loves to make smoothies / protein shakes every morning with the blender, and she hates to wash the blender. So she doesn't. She will leave it there. And so this morning I washed the blender for her while she was out working out. So that's our sweet, sour, and service for today.
Do the little things. Love it.
Good to talk. And we'll talk to you guys next.
Thanks for listening.